Well, good morning. Our guest this morning on Our Stories is Dale Jones. I think many of you know him, certainly from either his professional capacity as a doctor or certainly from church. So Dale, tell us a little bit about where you grew up, what that was like.
Well, I grew up in Carbondale. Was born in Carbondale. Lived at home and went to SIU in Carbondale.
Okay.
Didn't leave home till I got married and went away to medical school.
All right. So you were in Carbondale at, trying to remember the name of the school there now, the Carbondale High School, but
CCHS
yeah,
was,
okay.
was the there were three high schools, of course, because
Yeah.
we had segregation. Attucks was the black high school, and there was the University High School, and then CCHS was the school that I went to.
Okay. And then you went on to SIU,
Right.
and what kind of a program did you undertake there?
Well, that was, I think we talked some before, that was an interesting thing. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. You know, I had to have my glasses changed about every 6 months when I was in grade school. So I actually entered Southern as in pre-optometry. And I was small town, and I was getting gasoline, and right across the pump from was my physics teacher from high school. He says, "Dale, what are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm out at Southern, I'm pre-optometry." And he says, "Well, why don't you become a doctor like your brother?" And that's what changed my path.
Okay. All right, so there were two siblings, you and your brother?
That's right.
Okay. And obviously he was older than you. How much older?
He's 8 years older than I was.
8 years, okay. So you kind of were actually almost different generations in a little
Well,
bit.
he was more like a father image.
Yeah.
He was, because my father wasn't a very good father,
Okay,
and but my brother was a very good brother.
yeah, that's good. So your brother had gone into medicine, any particular field, I mean, that he went into?
He became an OB/GYN.
Yeah, okay. So you decided to, make an adjustment and go into medicine rather than optometry.
That's right. And at that point, I thought I could go ahead and become an MD and become an ophthalmologist. But when I got into it, I liked family practice better, and
Yeah.
so that's what I stayed in general practice.
Okay. So once you got started into, this field, were you okay? Were you confident with it, or was it something you thought, gee, I don't know, maybe I should have thought about this a little bit more? Or...
Well, I didn't have second thoughts, except I went away to work in a resort in Wisconsin in the summer, the 2 summers.
Mm-hmm.
And the second summer I came back, and I finished my freshman year. I was down in my sophomore year, and I was looking at my grade average, and I thought, holy mackerel, I'm not going to make it into medical school if I don't get serious. And because I had just had a nice summer in Wisconsin, and I wasn't ready to start back to the grind. So I buckled down, and my grade average went up. And one of the things that's interesting, I had a real advantage because the medical class at the University of Illinois in Chicago had 200 students. And half the students were taken from Cook County, and the other half were taken from downstate.
Mm-hmm.
And like University of Illinois had a quota, Southern Illinois University in Carbondale had a quota. We had about 13 students that we could take from our class as pre-med students that would go to the University of Illinois, Chicago. There were only 11 of us applying, so the statistics were in my favor. The other thing that's happened, I knew that they were wanting family doctors, so that in my interview, I emphasized the fact that I was from Southern Illinois, and I wanted to come back to Southern Illinois and be a GP.
Mm-hmm.
So I got admitted on the first round
Oh,
because I was who they were looking for.
yeah. So how did your brother feel about you, getting into medicine?
That's an interesting story. I think he felt fine about it. I think he thought I should become a specialist, because at the time I came out, 90% of the doctors could be going into specialties.
Mm-hmm.
There was no family practice residency yet. There was no family practice residency. And the interesting thing was that there were several internships that would help you get into general practice. They had a good one in Decatur, they had one in Peoria, they had one in Rockford, and my brother was practicing in Rockford, and he was part of that program. So he was trying to recruit me to his program, and I purposely didn't want to go there because I didn't want to be either overshadowed by him or
Right,
be an
right.
embarrassment to him.
Yeah.
And so I chose Decatur, and he didn't raise too much of a fuss about it, but I imagine he didn't feel too good about it.
So what was there about family practice that, drew you to that and made you want to go into that
Well,
area?
the thing about family practice is you're taking care of the whole family. So when you see a woman and you're talking to her and you're dealing with her headache, her headache may be that some kind of a husband that she has.
Yeah.
And so and you're treating the whole family and you're treating the whole body. You're not just one single system that you're dealing with. And the thing that happened to me is I went into the Air Force. I volunteered for the Air Force because I'm going to be drafted anyway, and so I wanted to get in and get it out of the way. So I spent 2 years in the Air Force, and 2 years in the Air Force was like a family practice residency because I did OB, took care of the babies I delivered, assisted the surgeons in the surgery that we did, and so I had 2 years of experience. So when I came down here and joined Jack Spicer, I was ready to go.
All right, so then you came back and to Decatur, and so where did getting married fall into?
Well, I got married right out of medical school. I graduated and 3 days later got married because I met Liz at Southern. We met in Southern, and she was a year ahead of me, so she'd been teaching in Kankakee, and while I was finishing up my last year at Carbondale. And so we got married in Waterloo, took a small vacation to the Ozarks, and got my 51 Mercury and headed to Chicago.
Okay. So she was from Waterloo?
Waterloo, that's right.
Yeah, wow, big town, all right. So, okay. What did you find after you went into family practice, you talked about, what you liked about it and so forth. What did you find that was the most rewarding aspect of that kind of work?
Well, the way that you could help people. I got more thrill out of someone saying, "Thank you, doctor, for what you did for them," than anything else. And I had a little anecdote. I was talking about my father. My father was a truck driver. Went to school through about 5th grade, then went to work in the coal mines of Southern Illinois. Escaped the coal mine explosion, ended up working in Peoria, and during the Depression came back to Carbondale. But he had a dump truck and would haul coal to, most of the houses were heated by coal at that time. So he had visions, I think, of Gordon Jones and Sons on the side of his truck. So when my brother wanted to go to medical school, it was a disappointment to my father. But he still had me. So when I came along and I said I wanted to go to medical school, he said, well, I thought at least one of my sons would go into business with me. So fast forward to several years later when he was getting Alzheimer's and he was the bowling alley with his buddies having a cup of coffee, and when they found out he had 2 sons that were doctors, his chest kind of swelled up and he came home to my mother and said, well, we must have done something right.
Decided it was okay to have something to brag about.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, he was disappointed because he wanted me to join him in the trucking business.
Yeah. That would have been a big loss, for sure.
That wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story, and, who knows, maybe it will inspire somebody. So, okay.
Thank you.